Well, I woke up this morning from a recurring dream.
कौन मिसिंग है?
मेरे हस्बैंड हमजा।
कभी से गायब हो?
परसों।
कल से या परसों से?
कल और परसों के बीच में से साहब।
सर, मेरे को कंफर्म डाउट है ये लड़की और वो लड़का जुल्फी दोनों का चक्कर है और दोनों ने ना मिल के सटका है हमजा को।
Wow.
सोमड़ी में।
How did you come to that conclusion, sir?
तेरे घर से शुरू करते हैं।
हाँ।
कोई ना कोई सुराग मिल जाए।
करेक्ट सर, करेक्ट। दिव्या मैडम चला।
Oh gosh.
मेरे को लाइफ में एक और मौका मिलेगा ना अपनी स्टोरी चेंज करने का, मैं करेगा भाई। मैं गांव चला जाऊंगा।
मैं उन दोनों को धोखा नहीं दे सकता।
हाँ, तू नहीं दे सकता, मेरे को मालूम है। नहीं दे सकता तू।
Is he doing that to shut him up?
Yeah, talking too much. Spinning his head around.
मेरी वजह से आप भी जेल जाओगे।
पागल है क्या? तेरी वजह से जुल्फी जेल जाएगा।
जुल्फी
बोल देंगे तेरे इश्क में आके जुल्फी नहीं सब किया।
जी हम जुल्फी हमारा।
Damn, is there no loyalty?
चाबी नहीं है ना, फिर भूल गई।
हाँ साहब, चाबी तो अंदर है क्या? देखो ना, आप कल आना साहब।
ए दरवाजा तो बाजू मसल देगी वो।
Oh my gosh.
बाहर खुशबू सुनी तो खोल दिया। सॉरी।
The casting of this lady is so peculiar.
ओ मैडम झोपलत की गए साबड़ लगा।
टमाटर लाने गए।
अरे नहीं, उसने बोला कि वो गाँव जाके खेती बाड़ी कर लेगा। मेरे को थोड़ा जेन्युइन लगा तो मैं ऐसा।
Oh my god. But also, that saved their asses right now.
जुल्फी, अगर तूने हमजा को किडनैप किया है ना, तो साहब को सच बता दे।
मैं कुछ नहीं क्या लगा? इसके पति को सल्टा देके तेरा लाइन क्लियर हो जाए। खाला क्यूट लगती है। हट। खाला क्यूट लगती है?
What?
Aww.
साहब
आ रहा हूँ मैं। हमजा मिल गया। चलो वापस चलो तुम लोग। तू भी चलो।
Oh god, how's this gonna end?
एक तो मैं हेल्प कर रहा हूँ और आप दोनों मेरे को ही फंसाने की कोशिश कर रहे हो। सब बता दूंगा मैं पुलिस को। सब बता।
Oh, okay, yep.
What they were doing was fucked up, though.
I know.
They were trying to frame him. He's been so, like, the most helpful person possible.
Yeah.
Like, so loyal.
मेरे सामने हाथ पाँव बांध के मारेगा तू।
हाथ पैर बांध के मारोगे? हाथ पैर बांध के मारोगे? देखिए, तारों को दबा बोल रहे। क्यों करते हो ये? मारपीट करते हैं?
You gotta try it.
तेरे पास दो ही ऑप्शन है, या तो इसको जाने दे या फिर इसको मार डाल।
मारेंगे कैसे?
Oh shit, okay.
कि मैं आके बदला लूंगा तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं। अल्लाह का कसम झूठ बोल रहा है। ये ब्रेक देना। वीडियो कोई बोलने के लिए रेडी हूं। कि अगर आप लोगों को कुछ भी हो तो उसके जिम्मेदार मैं हूं।
ये सब वीडियो पे बोलोगे? मेरी तसल्ली के लिए?
That's a shit ton of rain. Goodness.
Oh yeah. Rain doesn't mess about in Asia.
मैं अपनी बीवी बदरू से बेहद मोहब्बत करता हूँ, लेकिन उसको मारता पीटता भी हूँ। लेकिन जिस दिन मेरी मारपीट की वजह से हमने हमारी बच्ची खो दी, मैंने दारू नहीं पीती उस दिन। मतलब प्रॉब्लम दारू में नहीं है, प्रॉब्लम मेरे में है।
That's truth.
मैं बदरुनिसा को और दुख नहीं देना चाहता, इसलिए मैं सब छोड़ के जा रहा हूँ। तो कौन सी गाड़ी लूँ?
Whoa. Why'd you do that, Mom? Was that part of the plan?
I think so. Why isn't she helping?
अगर तूने मुझे काट लिया तो?
Well, she's probably like, good riddance. I feel like
Are they all gonna help?
maybe she has the support of
तैरते तैरते वो जैसे ही नदी के बीच में पहुंचे,
burn the evidence.
Man, I feel bad for Vijay Varma. All this physical
The actor,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
feel
not the
bad for
character. Not the character. The actor. Like, just
Yeah.
all the things he had to go through.
But if they tie him, it'll look weird. He has to.
She can't go through with
Yeah,
it.
she can't do it.
ये इसी लायक है मैं होगा इसी लायक लेकिन मैं मेंढक हूँ मैं इसकी जैसे क्यों बन रही हूँ जुल्फी
बोला ना वीडियो पे गाँव चला जा
जुल्फी मत खोल कुछ मत करना बिच्छू को डुबाने के लिए खुद बिच्छू बनना रॉन्ग है
सुनना भाई मैं बोला तेरे को गाँव जाऊंगा
चुप ना तेरे चक्कर में मैं भी जाएगा आज
तो क्यों की ये सब रिस्पेक्ट के लिए की लेकिन रिस्पेक्ट तो मेरी है ना इससे क्यों मांग रही हूँ मैं खोल जुल्फी जल्दी कर
Oh my gosh, Mama.
चलो उठाओ अम्मी हेल्प तो करो
Oh no, don't! Did anyone die?
I don't think so.
कैसे करेगी अकेले पुलचर उड़ाने का है
हाँ हाँ निकल यहाँ से
ए क्या जैसा बोल रही है मेरे को
जा
तू जा मैं बताएगा कैसे मतलब धीरे धीरे नहीं मारूंगा एक शॉट में जैसे तेरी बेटी को मारा था ना सिंपल से वैसे
Oh shit!
Jesus Christ. He just walked right into it. I'm like, dude. Did you see
Did you not?
you didn't see that
you
coming?
Didn't feel it?
I saw that coming. I'm just like, this dude is about to get killed.
Yeah.
Like, he's walking right into the train tracks.
मरते थे तो जिंदगी भर याद आता रहता
They'd have been haunted by the guilt.
Although, you're probably still going to be traumatized by this shit.
No, but from a writing standpoint, this is what happened just now needed to happen.
Yeah.
The way that it did.
Yeah.
अब्बा खाने बैठे थे अब्बा की दाढ़ी हिलती थी बदूती
Oh, she just put it together.
Oh shit.
I thought that the mom had a realization about herself in that moment.
Yeah, I thought that maybe in this case the mum was a scorpion or
Yeah.
that she had become a scorpion.
Yeah. Oh, I guess he helped out with that in the past.
Maybe.
He's been there a long time.
Oh, I feel for the mother though.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. I guess it's definitely not an open casket situation.
वीडियो देखी मैं शम्सो बहन कभी सोचा ही नहीं हरामी सुसाइड करेगा
I guess that closes that plot hole.
अगर बदरूनिसा को कुछ भी हुआ ना तो उसका जिम्मेदार मैं हूँ मैं अपनी बीवी बदरू से बेहद मोहब्बत करता हूँ मेरे में मैं बदरूनिसा को और दुख नहीं देना चाहता इसलिए मैं उसे छोड़ के जा रहा हूँ हमेशा के लिए अपने गाँव
Oh, wow.
सुसाइड केस लगता है सर लेकिन ना मेरे को
हमजा का फोन मिला गया किसी ने उसको देखा क्या रात को
वो कसाई है कासिम उसने देखा हम जगो फुल पिंडक में निकल रहा था बिल्डिंग से बाहर ये 2:30 बजे के आसपास रात को
अकेला था वो?
हाँ सुसाइड केस है सर कंफर्म
सुन
हाँ सर
डब्बे में गया
Oh gosh, okay. Wow. She's out there living her life, watching a movie by herself. Okay.
This was an interesting film.
Yeah.
And, going into it, I really wasn't sure what to expect entirely. I mean, I had a sense based on some of the imagery from the trailer. I knew that at some point she ties up her husband and starts torturing him.
Yeah.
But I didn't know to what degree.
Yeah, I think because of the trailer, I expected that moment to come in a lot sooner.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't, but I'm glad that it didn't because I think it was really important for it to play out the way that it did, because when I watched the trailer, I was kind of like, well, I don't really know who is the good guy, who is the bad guy really, because she's doing some really awful things to her husband.
It was misleading for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you see how they set it up, where they really showed us why he was perhaps deserving of those actions towards him, I was like, okay, cool, thanks for that, because I would have felt really uncomfortable to watch it not knowing that he had mistreated her so badly throughout most of the movie.
Right. So the film does a really good job of developing that whole thing because it's very three-dimensional in certain respects and two-dimensional to its fault in other respects, and I'll get into that in a minute. So I really like this movie. I like presentation, the acting, all that. Where it fell short for me was that there were certain areas where I'm like, I think you could have fleshed this out further, for as even though the film is not your typical Indian length, for the length of the film, I feel like there was definitely time to flesh out certain things.
Sure.
And really give us a more well-rounded understanding of things. If you, before I get into those ideas, I'll kick that to the other part of this video. Let me get into the positive things first. I thought Alia Bhatt did a fantastic job. For this being her first film from her production company, wearing the producer hat and the acting hat at the same time, I thought she did a fantastic job. Whenever you're wearing multiple hats on any project, it's tough. You have more responsibilities, and she still killed it in this movie.
Yeah.
Everything that I like about Alia Bhatt was very much present here. In fact, I think it was one of my favorite acting performances from her in general. She did such a good job.
I thought she was fantastic, and also major props to Shefali Shah, because there was just something so interesting about watching her, and especially at the end when you see the final realization that she has after listening to her daughter say, I don't want to become the Scorpion, and you realize, oh shit, Scorpion, she became a Scorpion. She allowed that, the pain and the trauma and the hurt to change her, and you see that realization. I thought she played that beautifully.
On the topic of acting still, Vijay Varma smashed it out of the park.
Oh God, yeah.
He did such a good job of being that guy, because what he brought here was something I haven't seen much, which is a person who is abusive but can still embody a sense of innocence as if they didn't do anything wrong.
But I think that's the perfect way to play it, because from what I understand about this relationship dynamic is that it's very much like that. The person who is often abusive will come back the next day or after they've had an outburst and seen the aftermath of what they've done and act really remorseful and be like, baby, I love you. Oh, I'm sorry. You see what you did? Oh, you just made me so angry, or it was the alcohol.
Okay,
or
so the part where you're saying, see what you made me do, this is your fault. There's still a sense of blame that is occurring when the guy comes back to apologize, as I understand it.
Yeah.
Somehow the guy's offloading the blame on the woman still.
Yeah.
In those abusive relationships, whereas here he didn't really seem to do that.
No, he didn't.
That's what made him so much more wicked and diabolical in certain ways, was that he really felt like such an innocent person, very sweet, and I could see why she would fall for it every time, because he was so convincing as the guy that was also sweet and innocent. Maybe he is capable of change. Even though I knew what was coming in the movie, their acting was so good. There was a part of me that was actually hoping for him and for them.
Well, yeah, because underlying the relationship is a sense of deep love between the both of them. Now that love is toxic, but it's still based on love, right? Or what their idea of love is. So she has a lot of hope because she wants him to be the person who is better, who can be a father to her child, and who can be a good husband.
Right.
He thinks he loves her as well, but for him, she's more of his property.
Right.
In a way.
Yeah. Roshan Mathew did a great job as a supporting actor in this film, as the guy who is secretly in love with the auntie and just wants to help her out and whatnot. He's also the sales guy with the little trinkets that he collects, like his spoils of war that he then sells off. I think he did a really good job as that guy. There's also stuff in there that I want to comment on later on that I want to come back around to. Or in terms of his acting, I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed his really sweet innocence as well, which was, you know, an interesting foil to Vijay Varma's Hamza, right? Because Roshan Mathew's Zulfi was such a sweetheart, and then you had Hamza, who was, he seemed outwardly sweet. And that's the thing that I like as well, because you're talking about how he's sweet, but what I loved was Vijay Varma also had this like underlying edge.
Yes.
This thing where it was like, oh my God, this could go wrong at any moment, even though outwardly he's like stroking her hand and stuff, and I'm like, oh, when is it? When is it gonna happen? When's he gonna hurt her?
No, right from the get-go of the film, when he showed up, then the way he was acting, I was like, Vijay Varma is so wicked good. Like, he's really, really good in terms of acting. Like, because I've watched him do other stuff, and this feels so different from the thing I saw him do before, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, he's a damn good actor. Like, that was my immediate thought while watching him. Across the board, I thought this is a fantastic cast. They brought this story to life. There's also one other person in the film whose name I can't find on IMDb because IMDb doesn't have all the actors, but he played the butcher. You know, normally I see him in a bigger role with more to say. Here, he had way less to say. It was more looks and thoughts and reactions, and I thought even as the butcher, who had way less interaction, I thought he did a fantastic job as well.
Yeah, he really did, yeah.
So, and Jasmeet Kaireen, I liked her direction in the film in terms of she knew where to put the camera. I liked the lighting that she did with the cinematographer. You know, it just visually was nice. It didn't feel overproduced, you know, like you might see in a Bollywood film that is meant for the masses.
Right, yeah.
It felt more
grounded.
It felt, yeah, in terms of just the visual approach, it felt more like a grounded film. Exactly. Because the thing is, a lot of times, like, the actors get all the credit for the dope acting in the movie, but a lot of times that has to come with the trust of the director, the ability for the director to pull that out of them and know, like, how to, you know, communicate with the actors well enough to get these performances.
Yeah.
And so I just want to credit the Jasmeet Kaireen for the performances in the film as well. And, you know, leading us as the audience through these things, dropping these hints, and not overly emphasizing things either. You know, because there was the cracked mirror in the background, and if you saw it, you saw it, but if you didn't, you didn't, but it was there.
Yeah.
And whether you knew you saw it, you did see it. It was there in your brain somewhere, in your subconscious, right? And so I thought she did a nice job as well of, like, not overplaying her hand, because you do get that a lot you get that more, I feel, in Indian cinema than you do in American cinema.
Sure,
and every time I bring that up, there's usually an excuse made for that, like, oh, you know, maybe the directors or the studios feel that the Indian audience is not sophisticated enough. This director was like, no, my audience is going to be sophisticated enough to understand this film. And I appreciated her trusting the audience in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? What I want to get into is, like, some of the things I didn't like, because the film does a very good job of walking you through this process of seeing why Alia Bhatt would stay with this guy, why any woman who's being abused would stay with their husband or partner, their significant other, right?
Yeah, because it is very, very complicated.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to be on the outside and go, oh my God, why would you let someone treat you like that?
Exactly.
Like, why don't you just leave the guy? And it's not actually as simple as that.
It's not black and white.
Yeah, it isn't. There's lots of nuance.
I feel compelled for some reason to emphasize the fact that this is not limited to heterosexual relationships. It's not limited to a husband beating their wife.
Yeah.
It could be either gender.
Go either way.
It could be any form of relationship, right? This doesn't even need to be a romantic relationship. Like, abuse happens in all kinds of relationships, and it's important that you recognize the signs when it's happening. Anyway, that's beside the point. My point is that it took the time to show you those layers of Vijay Varma and why she would stay. Cool. That's great. What I missed out on was it sort of just jumps you into the middle of that, right? Because it goes from the first date at the theater where he's late.
Where it's like kind of innocuous. Like, you don't see the warning signs there
at all.
I think.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
He just gives her a sweet teddy bear.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm sorry, but I got the job. We can get married. And it's like, hooray. Then 3 years later, it's like, oh, this shit's been going on for a while.
Yeah, we just jumped in the middle of it. Now, that part I was more okay with. I mean, it would have been nice to see the progression of, like, you know, there were signs along the way, you just weren't connecting with it. Maybe signs that maybe the audience might have picked up on it, or maybe they didn't. And then if you go back and watch the film again, those signs were there the whole time and you just didn't know it, right?
Right.
Like, if you go back and watch the film again, what they did a great job of was planting seeds with the mom, because the mom is like, oh, let's kill him. And it's like, what? Why would the mom ever fucking say that?
Exactly,
But then you go back and watch it again, you're like, oh, all of this makes sense because of what she went through with her husband. And it has that whole message of trauma begets trauma, right?
Yeah.
And so, but what I'm missing out on is where did Vijay Varma where did he come from? Why is he like this? Not that it excuses any of his behavior, because it doesn't by any means. But what I don't like is how it's this notion of he is a monster, black and white. Because the whole point is these things are not black and white, and yet it went black and white when it came to him.
Sure.
That's a big problem for me. Okay, you have the strength to leave him. Great. Now what? You just threw him back into the pool, the dating pool again, and he's gonna abuse somebody else. Now he's someone else's problem. Like, what do we do? What do we do with this information? Is the message leave him and that's it? Is there any more that we can do as a society where, like, okay, for instance, in Thapad, right? Mm-hmm. Towards the end of the film, there was a scene where the husband, who like slapped his wife, there's a scene where Rohan Khurana is talking to his boss. And I forgot exactly what the dialogue was, but the boss schooled him, goes, you were wrong. And the thing is, we collectively as a society very rarely intervene. Oh, it's not our problem. We don't want to like get in the middle of it.
We saw that in this movie.
Exactly. Just like in here, they didn't want to get in the middle of it. They just allowed this thing to keep on happening. So that's my point, is that like there's no dimension here. And what Thapad offered, even though I didn't love the film, was the notion that you can step in, you can intervene. You know, if you're an ancillary person in this, if you're on the outskirts of it, orbiting it, you can intervene and say something.
Sure.
You know, that was what I liked. So I saw none of that here, and I saw no development in terms of who he is. Like, because the point is, trauma begets trauma, abuse begets abuse, and like it can stop with you.
Sure, and I think to clarify as well about the trauma begets trauma, abuse begets abuse, it's also in the fact that because her mom was in an abusive relationship, usually what happens is a certain type of relationship is modeled to the child, and then unconsciously or subconsciously they pick partners that play out the same patterns that they witnessed with their parents.
Right.
Yeah.
And all it really took was like one scene of Vijay Varma as a kid. Like, we just needed a flashback of him seeing the same kind of behavior, the same kind of dynamic between his father and mother, you know?
Perhaps.
So anything.
That's definitely something that they could have done.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Anything like that. But like, certainly there are people out there who are just monsters. It doesn't always come from some kind of childhood thing, but I feel like more often than not it does.
Yeah.
So just, you know, statistically speaking.
But what I did want to say regarding the message of the film, right?
Yeah.
Because what you're saying is totally valid, and I think that could have added a lot more depth to the movie. What I did enjoy was how it ended, because as we were reaching the climax and we see her, like we see all of them tying him up on the train tracks, and we think, oh no, they're just gonna let him die, they're gonna kill him. I was like, wait, hold on, this is kind of problematic. What is this saying? Is this saying like, hey, if you're being abused, it's totally okay to murder your partner? Like, no, that's not okay. And so I really appreciated that in the end she has a change of heart and she realizes that, no, I am the frog, I am the good person, and I'm not going to change who I am to turn myself into a scorpion like him.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a good message, that you can get out of the situation without turning into the thing that you despise. Even though conveniently he gets killed, and so they don't have to deal with him ever coming after them and trying to kill them himself. But I thought that message was really good.
Well, he definitely deserved to die. I mean, he was like really walking up to the train track. He's like, "Oh, you haven't seen anything yet."
Yeah, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh God, that's really scary. That's terrifying." And then
he gets killed by the train. I'm surprised his body was still intact. But
I know.
anyway, that's a different thing entirely. The mom willing to give up Roshan, Mathew, or Zulfi. The way that whole thing kind of, I didn't know how to feel about that.
Perhaps that speaks to her character being more of a scorpion.
Yeah, she certainly became a scorpion after that, her trauma with her ex-husband.
Yeah, she was willing to just throw this really lovely guy who was probably more like a frog under the bus and be like, oh no, he can take all the blame because I have to save myself and my daughter.
Right.
You know?
I don't know if the film was outright saying it, but to me, another layer in there of potential conversation is that, you know, because the film goes, you're either a frog or the scorpion, right? Like, because Alia Bhatt is the frog, Vijay Varma is the scorpion. And I feel like that's a very black and white idea because in real life, we might favor one or the other in terms of our traits and our habits, our personality, but we are definitely a mixture of these things. And I feel like that's important to state. A long time ago, an old buddy of mine, Cujo, I was talking to him about something, a quote that was told to me by another friend, a mutual friend of ours. And the quote is very simple. It's simple minds discuss people, average minds discuss events, great minds discuss ideas. Like that's the whole thing. And that stuck with me. And I told that to Cujo, and Cujo was like, that's cool. I feel like all of us are a mixture though. Maybe we are drawn more to one particular thing than the other, but we were generally a mixture. And that always stuck with me as it's somewhere in the middle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And taking that idea into consideration of removing the black and whiteness, here, I think that if, for me, what I'm going to try to take from this movie is that Shefali is not black and white.
Yeah.
She's not just a scorpion. She's a mixture. She ended up favoring the scorpionness as a result of her experiences.
Well, yeah, and it just goes to show how much our experiences in life can color how we think about things going forward and how we perceive the world and how we interact with the world. And so I guess the question is like, are you going to allow those dark things, the darkness that you encounter, to diminish the light within you, or are you going to try and carry on forward with as much as you can? Or maybe it is like you say. I feel like it's probably more what you say, that you kind of have to have a combination of the two to survive in the world.
I don't know what the film was trying to tell me when it was showing us Vijay Varma's job, because it was showing the circumstance, which is he is in a position he's not quite happy in. He's frustrated with his life, and maybe that was adding to his drinking. But I'm like, well, why? Why are you showing me this movie? Like, what does this have to do with the overarching message?
Maybe it is to kind of give his character more depth and show us, like you said, he is frustrated. He's not where he wants to be. He thought he was going to have a better position, and yet here he is cleaning toilets for his boss every day. He hates his job so much that he has to drink. He drinks, which makes him belligerent, and then he gets angry at his wife, and then it's like this cyclical thing. Like everything is a cycle, it just repeats. I thought it was really interesting and good actually that they showed us just how repetitive the cycle is in the beginning, where it's like, it's a new day, but we know the pattern. He's gonna get mad at her in the evening, and when he wakes up he's gonna be really sweet, and he's gonna like come up and give her a hug, and she's gonna be like, no. That's how they operate until it's not okay because he does something unforgivable.
Yeah, from what I understand, the way the abuse kept like leveling up is quite realistic. Like the part where he like let her fall down the stairs and whatnot. I mean, if it came to Alia Bhatt actually having him killed, it would have been a weird ending to me as an American, but I would have understood it.
Yeah.
It just because he was so messed up of a character. They did such a good job with that. But then the whole payback routine of like everything she took him through, I was wondering over the course of that part of the film, I'm like, where is this going? Like, where could this possibly go that makes sense? And I thought they stuck the landing all right.
Yeah.
But that's where the characters got to play a little bit more, and it got goofy and funny, but in a good way. I felt like, to the film's credit and its advantage, like, when he was all drugged up and in bed, and the boss comes over and he's trying to sign, he's trying to talk for the life of him. Vijay Varma did such a good job with that. And then Alia Bhatt did a great job when he's at the police station, when she comes in crying and whatever, pretending like, oh, this is what he's saying to about, he's gonna kill me and blah, blah, all of that stuff was great. I want to round this out with complimenting the acting again, because most of this is just, people talking. It's just dialogue heavy.
Oh, I had a question for you though.
Okay.
What did you feel about Zulfi and Alia Bhatt's mom having a little relationship?
What did you feel about it?
I thought it was cute, honestly. I was like, oh, I like it. I love it. Older people are portrayed as still having a romantic life, having romantic interest, having sexual interest. I'm like, cool. And the fact that she's hot enough that a handsome young man like Zulfi is all like, auntie, I'm into you. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I think it's awesome.
I think it's speaking to the greater message, or or one of the greater messages of the film, because, you know, there was the film we watched a while back, talking about like how, you guys are much older, you shouldn't be doing this anymore.
Yeah.
It's like this weird concept, right? The idea of Alia Bhatt becoming a divorcee, or her character rather, Bhadra becoming a divorcee and having to deal with the social, you know, what do you call it, consequences of that, the stigma of all that, you know, that how God forbid she would have to deal with that. Is it better for her to be trapped in this situation forever? Like, does she not deserve love and respect and happiness? And so I think that it was sort of speaking to that. As a woman, you're allowed to go looking for something else if it's right for you to do. Yeah. You know, like I think that Shefali, Shah's character, was like, it's the cultural angle is sort of like, well, that's not right. You know, why, what is she doing? What business does she have?
It's all those nasty blue films from China that are making you corrupt in the brain. Like, why would you like an older woman? Like, why not?
Well, I think the norm, the thinking of society would be like, you know, what business does she have fraternizing with this young man? Like, she's corrupting him, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, he genuinely likes her. He loves her personality. He just wants to be next to her, and she likes the affection that he's giving her. There's nothing wrong with that. Love is love at the end of the day. Yeah. So just like let it be. And I thought that it was speaking to the other half of the message, because, you know, I think that some people get trapped in a marriage because they don't like the stigma of divorce. And then like, okay, so then after your husband dies, you're not supposed to ever get married again or anything like that. It's like, well, why can't you find happiness again?
Go out.
You know?
Go out and flirt.
I thought that was cool. It was cute. It was different. I mean, I could see the signs from a mile away. It was kind of shocking to me that
it took so long for the reveal.
It was just shocking to me that the Shefali Shah's character couldn't see it. Because I feel like women are usually more in tune with that kind of thing.
No, I think we know, kind of in the sense of like it's on the back burner of our brains. Yeah. But then when, you know, like you may have an inkling that your friend has a crush on you, but if they ever tell you, then you're like, oh no, oh my God, why?
Oh, there was one moment.
What a surprise.
There was one moment in the movie where you were a little bit shocked because the cop said, you know, women let this happen.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't feel right about that. And I had mixed feelings about the statement. Obviously, it was just coming from the cop character, right? Mm-hmm. And to a degree, it would appear at a cursory glance, that maybe that's victim blaming or victim shaming, right? Yeah. But I think that it is worth examining that statement, that idea, because someone will only be able to do as much as you let them do at the end of the day. If you are being disrespected in your relationship, it will only go as far as you allow it to happen, generally speaking. Now, you might be dealing with a murderer. Obviously, that's a wildly unusual circumstance that I doubt that most people are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. But I feel like if you're being disrespected in your relationship, like, it's up to you to either stay quiet or to take it or to fight back and maybe, like, you know what I mean? Like, there are moves you can make.
Right.
I mean,
okay.
Now it all depends on how much safety is fostered by your family, because I do know that, like, with obviously some instances where a woman might turn to her family and they'll be like, well, what did you do? And blah, blah, blah. And like kind of make it her fault and then shame her.
I think that's exactly what's happening here is what the cop is saying is representative of probably what a lot of people have to do with deal with society saying those types of things to them, or their family saying certain types of things to them. It's like, well, what did you do to piss him off then? What did you do? And it's like, did I put the bottle of alcohol in his hand? Did I make him drink while he was working? Did I make him hit me? No, those were all his choices. Mm-hmm. I think I understand what you're trying to say, which is like, what is your part in it? Like, you can always, like you say, you can push back if it's safe to do. Sometimes that's not safe. Sometimes that is worse for your safety. So,
well, like in Thopper, she left.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so you do have that option to stand up. And I think it is knowing your own worth, having respect for yourself and your boundaries, saying that is not the type of treatment that is acceptable for me. Right. So therefore, since you won't take yourself out of the equation, I'm going to take myself out of the equation. I'll leave. Yeah. Because that is unacceptable. So yeah, that is something that you can do.
I do appreciate that Alia Bhatt's character was fighting for something better, though. She was legit trying to make it better. You know, she didn't just run off. She didn't, but like, it wasn't, I don't know. I have not been in that kind of a situation or that kind of a relationship, and I haven't gotten into the nitty gritty with anyone who has. So it's hard for me to really truly comment on this. But like, my impression is that it seems like these women are sort of just like mentally beat, physically beat, and then that's it. When I watched Stoppard with you, one of the things that confused me was, why didn't, what's her name? Taapsee Pannu's character, how come she didn't try to like help him change, help him be better, right? I was confused by that. And a lot of people, I got a lot of pushback on that question, but I think it is a question worth asking. It's like, this is the guy you married. And so while that behavior is unacceptable, let him know that. Let him know it's unacceptable. Obviously, he should just know, but he doesn't. So tell him. That's what I wanted to see in Stoppard that I didn't get. Here, I got it. And he still was behaving that way. It's like, okay, you gave him a lot of chances. He's still this way. It's not changing. See, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, I appreciate that the movie took us through those steps because it's not so black and white. It wasn't just a snap decision. Like, she was really pushed to the breaking point before she was doing what she was doing.
Right.
You know?
But then I guess the question is like, if you make allowances for someone to treat you badly once, what's going to stop them from doing that to you again?
I mean, sure, but I'm not condoning any sort of like domestic. I don't condone that. What I'm saying is like, okay, let's say that's happened. If I'm the woman in that position, this is easy for me to say because I'm not a woman and I'm not in that position.
Yeah.
But let's say I'm the woman in that position, right? You fucked up. That was your one and only time. That happens again, I'm gone. That's it. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like,
no, I see what you're saying, and I think
again, that's easy for me to say being in this comfortable chair. So
yeah, and I think the thing that they did show really well was just how much love she had for him, and I will say the love that he had for her, no matter how warped and twisted and messed up that love was, it all came from love, and that's what we have to remember, and that's why these relationships are so complicated, because on some level it's like there's love in there, there's fear.
Something must be wrong with me though, because I was kind of hoping that maybe somehow against all odds they would work it out, because like she got the tape of him saying, you know, what she wanted him to say, and I thought, does this mean she like stays with him, but now she's got the power? Like, I thought that's maybe where the film was going.
I
thought that could have been an interesting direction to take it. Of like, she's not leaving. What she wanted was respect, and she got it. But like, that would have kind of gone against the message of the film and blah blah blah.
Well, because the main message was about the scorpion and the frog, and the fact that, you know, you can't change someone's nature. So he was always going to be.
You cannot change someone who does not want to change. It's not that you can't change someone's nature. You can't change someone's nature who does not want to change. That's a very big. There's a big chasm of difference between the two, in my opinion, because there are people who want change, and then you can help them, you can help guide them through that change. You know?
Sure, yeah, but all I'm saying is I don't know if that was exactly the message that the movie was trying to put across, but maybe it was, because the mom turned into kind of a scorpion herself, unless she always was a scorpion.
I think all of the things we're saying is the message of the movie. I mean, I think that the movie by design is to elicit conversation.
Yeah.
So I think everything we've explored in this conversation, I'm hazarding a guess here. Jasmeet Kayreen would be like, cool, I'm glad you had all this conversation about it. I mean, that's part of the point.
Yeah,
you know?
glad you got that.
The
done.
worst possible thing that I forgot where I heard this, but like the worst, maybe it was Tarantino, but the worst possible thing that an audience can do to your movie is forget it. You know, it's just like, well, cool, you watched it, you moved on, and that was it, and didn't have an iota of opinion or feeling about it after the fact to share with your friends. Like, a really good film should elicit this kind of, not this kind of conversation, but conversation in general, get you talking, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that this film did a good job of inviting that kind of conversation and making me reflect and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed this conversation. Let us know how it affected you, how the film affected you, how the conversation affected you. So, subscribe, bell icon, all notifications. Please vote this up. I'm Jaby KOAY. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.